The Gorgons are some of the most fearsome and iconic creatures in Greek mythology, known for their terrifying appearance and deadly abilities. Traditionally, there are three Gorgon sisters, Medusa, Stheno, and Euryale. They were the daughters of the sea deities Phorcys and Ceto, making them primordial beings linked to the ancient and mysterious forces of the ocean. While all three Gorgons were feared for their monstrous features, Medusa is by far the most famous due to her unique fate and her role in one of the most well-known Greek myths. The Gorgons were described as having hair made of living serpents, bronze-scaled bodies, sharp fangs, and eyes that could turn anyone who gazed upon them into stone. Unlike her immortal sisters, Medusa was mortal, which made her both the most vulnerable and the most tragic of the three. In early myths, the Gorgons were often depicted as monstrous from birth, but later versions of Medusa's story add a layer of complexity to her origin. One of the most well-known accounts comes from Ovid's Metamorphoses, which tells the story of how Medusa was originally a beautiful maiden. She was a priestess of Athena and had taken a vow of chastity, but the sea god Poseidon lusted after her. In one version of the myth, Poseidon pursued and assaulted her in Athena's temple. Enraged by this violation, Athena did not punish Poseidon but instead cursed Medusa, transforming her into a monstrous creature with snake-like hair and the deadly gaze that could turn men to stone. This story reinterprets Medusa not just as a monster, but as a victim of divine wrath, adding a tragic dimension to her character. Despite her terrifying abilities, Medusa's story is defined by her eventual downfall. The hero Perseus, sent on a near-impossible quest by King Polydectes, was tasked with bringing back Medusa's head. With the aid of the gods, Perseus obtained magical items: Hermes' winged sandals, Hades' helm of invisibility, Athena's reflective shield, and a special sword to decapitate Medusa. Using the shield as a mirror to avoid direct eye contact, Perseus successfully beheaded Medusa while she slept. From her severed neck, two beings emerged: Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden warrior, both offspring of Poseidon. Even in death, Medusa's power remained. Perseus carried her head, using it as a weapon to turn enemies into stone before eventually giving it to Athena, who placed it on her aegis, the legendary shield. Stheno and Euryale, Medusa's immortal sisters, had their own fearsome reputations, though they are less involved in well-known myths. Unlike Medusa, who became a tragic figure, Stheno and Euryale remained monstrous and untouchable, roaming the world as terrifying creatures. They are sometimes depicted as more vengeful and bloodthirsty than Medusa, with Stheno being the most violent of the three. The Gorgons were not merely monstrous figures but were deeply symbolic. They represented chaos, protection, and feminine power. In ancient Greek culture, Medusa's image was widely used as a Gorgonian, a protective symbol placed on shields, temples, and armor to ward off evil. The idea that something terrifying could also serve as a protective force shows the duality of Medusa's legacy, both feared and revered. The legacy of the Gorgons, particularly Medusa, has persisted far beyond Greek mythology. Over the centuries, Medusa has been reinterpreted in different ways, sometimes as a tragic victim, sometimes as a symbol of female rage, and other times as a figure of resilience and power. From ancient sculptures to modern literature, the image of Medusa remains one of the most enduring and evocative in mythology. The Gorgons embody the thin line between monstrosity and power, victimhood and agency. Whether seen as horrifying creatures or misunderstood figures, their mythology continues to captivate and inspire, making them some of the most complex and fascinating beings in Greek legend.